Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast, where we talk about video games, news, and what's fun. I'm Max, and with me is a smuggler who's never scruffy looking. Mess it up a second time. My co-host, Sema. Hello there, Sema.
I am so flattered that you know I am a smuggler, because I am a smuggler. Hi, Max.
Hello. We're going to be talking about a little bit of the Star Wars stuff, and there's a little bit of a little smuggling stuff going on in that Star Wars Outlaws, so I'm excited to talk about that. We'll also be talking about, plenty of other fun things. I've got a rant lined up, so stay tuned for that as well.
I tried to apply some rant amelioration. I think it
did.
Just fired him up more.
Talk me off the ledge, but you don't talk me off the ledge by telling me I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm bad at it.
Not only are you wrong, but that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Huh. Boy, that makes me really take two steps back. But before we we'll start it off with some fun stuff before we get into my rant during the news. Let's get into the news.
Good news, everyone.
First up in the news, something that is fun for gamers, not for elite dudes, but for gamers. This is not the rant, but there may be a rant coming out of this as well. Star Wars Outlaws. Star Wars Outlaws looks like a pretty cool game. It's a game that will be coming in August from Ubisoft. It's a Star Wars game, which we tend to enjoy. They dropped the story trailer. I don't know, get those closed captions off. They dropped the story trailer this week. 9 months ago, so it's been out for a while. There's also a gameplay trailer, which goes into some of the gameplay. I like the story trailer. I thought it looked fine. Is it the most unique, edgy Star Wars story ever? No. Is it a mainstream Star Wars, whatever, fun thing? Smuggler, heist, a little bit of feel of Firefly, a little bit of a heist story. You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Right, right.
That's what I'm getting out of it. It's weird looking at people that are seeing different things out of it and putting their spin on it. And you can see whatever you want to see. Because I was reading some comments that were like, this is just like, she's just another Han Solo. And then you've got other people that are saying, why didn't they bring in Han Solo? Literally. Right below each other in the kind of comments. But
I
did you
wonder
see that picture?
What it means now to be Star Wars, because people talking about Andor, they'll say, Andor's fantastic. I really love Andor because it's nothing like Star Wars.
Right.
And then I'm like thinking, well, then why is it even Star Wars? So I think what it is that people look for all different things out of Star Wars.
And kind of the fun of it, of Star Wars as a franchise is they can do all different things. And maybe this isn't for you because you only like edgy, violent games where you can cannibalize people.
Right.
So then you don't need to play this one. There's everything from like little kids, like Young Jedi Adventures and that kind of thing, all the way up to some adult stuff like Andor and everything in between. Who knows where this is exactly going to fall, but I don't think this is falling on the kids' side. Is it going to be a little bit more on the family-friendly side? I mean, you're going to be shooting people in the face, so there's still that.
Right. I think we pretty much accept that shooting people in the family face is is
family friendly.
Is good family fun. Yeah.
Good fun for the whole family.
Yeah.
Shoot your enemies in the face. Somebody looked at this scene right here that I have up on the screen and said, that kind of looks like Rishi. Was it one of you in the chat room? It was somebody on, I think, in our Discord that said, I could be mistaken. It could just be dreaming, but that kind of looks like Rishi to me, which would be kind of cool. But anyway, I heard people saying some of the dialogue was too cringy and not good. I thought some of it was fun and pretty cool. There was a couple scenes. Like this one, she walks into the mob boss. I forgot what those guys are called. That smuggler band. They're not the Niktos. Yeah, maybe they are the Niktos. She walks in there and she's like got no reputation. And his line to her is, "You're new around here. Why don't you come back when you ain't?" and they throw her out. And I thought that was fine. And then there's a little moment in here coming up too that I thought was pretty good, where she's like running away from bad guys, jumps into her ship, flips it on. Her seat, her seat goes down to the lowest setting, and she has to like, press the seat adjustment. It goes. The bad guys are just like looking at her for a moment, just like breaks the tension there. I thought it was pretty good. So between this and the gameplay trailer, I'm kind of thinking it looks good. It looks as good as Jedi Survivor. So
it's like, what we should think is that we are so lucky that there are so many games, instead of just railing against every game that isn't perfect for me.
Right. Exactly. And the reason I rail against some of those elite dude perspectives on some of these things, and this is going to come up with anytime I ran against or say the internet is wrong. What I'm saying is wrong is that lead dude perspective, not because I'm arguing against them or expect them to be listening to me, but I'm reminding myself and I'm reminding all of us that that's not reality. There will be that 1% of elite dudes that will hate this because it's a woman, because there's a cute animal, because his head didn't explode when she shot him. There's no blood. This is dumb, or whatever. And then there's going to be the 99% of people that are either going to have fun or not and go about their day and be cool about it. So I'm just reminding us all that even though right now there's a lot of like, here's why this game is going to fail. Nobody's played it yet. Nobody's even played an early access version of this yet. They're like looking at 5 minutes of video, which I think looks pretty cool and fun, and saying, oh, this is a failure. But, well, yeah, okay. Here's your click. You did it. You got your click. Good job. What I think is there's a couple cool little aspects to this. I like that there's vehicles. I like that there's space combat. I like there's shooting, adventure, take cover. I hope there's not too much stealth, although I can get into it if it's handled really well. But sometimes I just get bored of stealth. There's too many games. I used to play 100% stealthy in every game, even games you weren't necessarily supposed to, like Skyrim. I would always be sneaking around, almost because I was like afraid. And now I kind of get bored a little more,
right?
A little sooner.
Well, I mean,
like,
it's the eternal question, right? If something's too easy or too hard, both of those can be tedious.
Right. If it takes me 10 times longer to play the stealth game, that
right. Well, if it takes longer, then yeah, that's bad too.
Well, I mean, there's that. There should be a reward. It should be balanced. It shouldn't be like it's really annoying and you have to start it over 50 times if you want to do a stealthy, because the guy he turned it. It's random and he just turned it and he saw you, so now you lose. I'm not as fond of that. The other thing that I thought was cool, and people are, you could say, oh, another cute animal. Everybody, one of these Star Wars things has a cute sidekick, like Cal in the Jedi Survivors got the BBT9 D2 droid of his. That's
stuck there for a second.
Fun and cool, but they serve a purpose, and this little guy serves a purpose. Nix, I think, is his name. There's a point in the gameplay trailer where she targets a weapon that fell off an enemy. She's behind cover. She targets the weapon and says, "Nix, go get it." He'll run out in combat, dodge the bullet fire, go grab the weapon and bring it back to you. And it was like a heavy repeater. And then she's able to pick it up and use it in the fight. I thought that was a good spin on a potential mechanic you can then use in interesting ways during fights. And I
do too.
Cute enough.
I think the more capabilities they add to things like companions, the better.
Yeah. I like having
to make it more
interesting. Cute or dumb or whatever. If it's engaging as a companion, you're right. I think sometimes
I like in Star Wars: The Old Republic, where I can send my companion off to harvest something while I'm doing something else over here. Sometimes I wish I could send them in to loot things, which you can do in other games while I'm clicking on a quest item or something.
Exactly. Right. I play a lot of games, and sometimes I'm sitting there by myself in my basement for 2 hours. I don't actually play in the basement, but the point still stands. And having like this little digital companion on the screen, it's like, oh, that's nice. Now I got a little friend who's playing the game, with me, the digital companion.
Right. I'm able to think that as well.
I'm gonna play
Kinda
with
sad,
my
but
friends
there it is.
on Thursday nights, but having the pretend friends once in a while isn't that too? Yeah, I know it's kind of sad, but it's also kind of good. The other bits of this that you'll need to keep an eye out for, there's a little bit of quote unquote controversy, which again the internet is wrong about, which is there is a collector's ultimate edition for $130. The regular edition is going to be $70, and then the cheap edition, which no one talks about, and there's no headlines and no videos on YouTube talking about it, is you can pay $17 to get it as part of the Ubisoft Premium service and play it for a month or two and not have to spend any money for it. Sure, you don't own the game, but do you care?
But you didn't play any. Yeah. For not paying any money, you don't know the game.
Right. $130, is that expensive for a collector's edition of a game title like this? Yeah, that's kind of expensive. And yes, if they have add-on content you also have to pay for, that's kind of expensive. However, I've seen people do this comparison. You go back and in today's dollars, buying like Mario back in the 90s in 2024 dollars is about $120, $130. Because you were paying like $50 for a game back then in the 90s. That $130 is not, that hasn't inflated. Game prices have doubled in the last 40 years. 40 years? Is that where we're going on now? 30 years? So $130 is not actually that bad. The games industry has been very good to us from an inflationary perspective over the course of the past 20, 30 years. So
the problem I have with the collector's edition stuff in games now that I'm like mature and have self-awareness is that it kind of preys on your FOMO. Like I never bought the collector's edition for the very first vanilla WoW. And I felt that loss for a long time after I decided I wanted it. So I ended up after that for a while buying collector's editions all the time, just in case I wanted it, which is not a great decision point.
Yeah, I've done that too. And I've got sitting next to me the last physical collector's edition that we're going to talk about actually later in the show, the WoW Cataclysm. So I bought the first 4 WoW expansions, the boxed collector's edition. And that was about the time when I think I maybe had moved. We moved between houses. And that was about the time, moving especially, where I said, digital is really cool.
You're right. Maybe cooler than I thought it was.
As I'm carrying these heavy boxes of books and collector's edition video game things, this was the last physical collector's edition. I'll still buy some digital collector's editions here and there. It really does need to. I've gotten over it. I've gotten over it quite a bit because there's been a lot of them where, I got the special hat, and then you never even wear the hat anyway, and I don't care about the hat, and especially if it's not an MMO game where I can't like show off that I'm cool because I got the little panda from WoW Original Collector. I mean, that's like my favorite of all. That's like the only thing that I can show off these days.
Right. It has like 7 polygons, but it's the best pet ever.
Right. But there's been so many since then that I don't even remember.
Even now, there's a bunch of pets that will fall asleep periodically.
Right.
Which was that panda pet's claim to fame for like 10 years, 12 years.
Right. It was the only one that would do it like was the cutest thing ever. And it was the only one that was doing sort of its cute thing at the time. Also in gaming news, I have not watched it yet, but it is out, the Fallout TV show. And this does connect to the Fallout games because I'm noticing, well, first off, the Fallout TV show's getting a lot of what seemed like glowing early reviews. So if you're listening to Machete, you're never going to watch it.
I went to the extent today of watching, I think it was like a 6 or 7 minute video that gave you a background of lore for Fallout so that you could better enjoy the TV show. And this guy right here is one of my favorite actors, whose name I can't pull up right now. But he was in Justified, first season of Justified.
Yeah, that guy. But I was never that into the Fallout world or lore. I thought it was good and clever, but I was never enamored with the world. Like, this is the post-apocalyptic world I want to live in. Who wants to live in any post-apocalyptic world?
Well, I think it's maybe wrong of me to say lore. It's more like the setting, because the show takes place after a bunch of stuff that people who played the game would know.
Okay. Which I did play most of the games. Played 76, played New Vegas, played Fallout 4. So I should be up to speed.
And the woman who made the comment, if you like playing with a lot of players, then Fallout 76 is for you. But if you like a good game, then play Fallout, I think, Las Vegas, she said.
Fallout 76 got a lot of hate when it first launched for good reason. I mean, just a rocky launch, but how many games don't need, every game has rocky launch. Not every game as bad as that one was, but a lot of games do. Anyway, it's gotten so much better over time, for one. And for two, I really liked it when I played it, because when you're playing with friends, I do like playing with friends.
Right, because you can show them your panda.
Right, because then you could show
them. That's not a euphemism.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
I think I would like this better if he had a nose.
That is, I've watched the trailer a lot of times, and I've really come to appreciate his no-nosed face for whatever reason. I'm like, that's a bold move to have on a guy.
Yeah.
And I can't tell if he's total antagonist or, I mean, he seems like an antagonist, but maybe he's, because he's like with her part of the time, so maybe he's protagonist, or maybe he's like in between. I don't know. I'm hoping he's like protagonist. I hope that we're gonna get to like him, and he's got no nose and he's got the ugly face.
This is probably oversimplification, but I got the feeling he was sort of like part human, part, monster / mob.
Mutant.
Like you fight him. Yeah.
But even in the trailer, she's like walking alongside him.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
So, are you going to watch it? Are you going to watch it this weekend?
I may. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'm going to wait for them all to come out.
I think isn't it all out? I thought it said it.
Oh, is it all out?
I thought the whole season is on Prime.
Oh, well, then I don't have an excuse, but I still think I'm going to wait.
This could be the kind of thing I would say I would wait for my kids, like cool series that I want to watch with the family. Yeah. Forster says they're all out.
Yeah. There you go.
My kids aren't into, especially my daughters probably don't even know what Fallout is. Never heard of it.
Right.
So I've got other things that I can watch with them. We can catch up.
I mean,
on
they kind of lost me, because the blurb for the show starts out like it's the story of the haves and the have-nots, and I'm like, again.
Yeah. Oh, really? That's new. Let's serve me up some more of that.
I mean, that never was. Anyway, yeah, we'll see. I might love it though.
Related.
And the whole like callback to the 50s and the art style and everything is also.
That's the most clever part of what they did. They had the apocalypse take place in the 50s,
right?
So that post-apocalypse, all that sort of 50s feel and memorabilia and style of all of the signs and art, that's all where your
that's where you're stuck. Yeah,
version of that is where the whole game
and
everything take place. That's
like certain historical events did go on and happen, but other ones haven't, and new ones have happened.
Yeah.
And that a Fallout player would know those things is what I'm saying. So it's good to get some background.
The Fallout games, it seems, and it's clever of them to do this, are getting a bunch of little updates across a handful of them. Fallout 76 has some free trials. that are going on around it. So if you wanted to try that, then now is a good time. Fallout 4, I think it's like 9-10 years old now, is getting some updates associated with it. And here's one for you, Steve. Have you ever played Fallout Shelter, the mobile game?
No.
It is a clever little mobile. Did you ever play like the hotel builder games on the mobile game?
Yeah.
Like, where you put another floor on your hotel. It's kind of like that, but you have your vault underground, and you build up your resources. You add another room to the vault, and then you add a room that's the power generator. You add a room that's the water, and then you have like little people, and you get visitors come to your vault, and you add them in. So you can, your vault gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You have more and more people. Each of the people have little attributes. They can have babies, and you can dress them up, but it's just a little mobile, like hotel builder game. You should play that. I don't know why I'm telling you should play that. I have no idea, but it's like the lowest bar entry point into the Fallout universe, I guess, is what I was thinking. If you want to feel the little bit of the feel of Fallout, just the barest bit. That's cool. Okay. Now to the counterpoint part of the show. Again, this is to remind us of what's real. And what I'm going to go over is not necessarily wrong, but I do have a little bit of a counterpoint. And I'm only going after this Larian saying that layoffs are because big corporations are bad. I'm only going after this again, and that's my mangled headline, which is wrong also. But I'm only going after this because this is the second one in like 2 or 3 weeks. Sven came out and said, layoffs are terrible, and any companies that's doing layoffs is evil. He didn't actually say that, but it's being interpreted as that, and that's the headlines that people can write because it's not too far off of that. Well, now another one of their publishing directors has piled on and added more to that. And specific quotes, again, do not. Michael Dowse does not say just that, it's really complicated, and if we all work together, we could potentially get around some of these things. He says, these layoffs are giant operational failures. They are an avoidable F up. That's really all they are. So he does go on to say layoffs are an F up, but they are a very complex, nuanced decision. But the idea that it's an inevitability that has to happen is just not true. My counterpoint is that that's all well and good and true on a case-by-case individual basis. It is not inevitable for any particular big company that they will have to have layoffs at some point. You're right. That is not the case. Is it inevitable that some big game companies will have layoffs? I believe yes. In the same way that it's inevitable that plenty of small studios are going to be closing their doors over the course of the next couple of years and have over the course of the past couple of years. I watch this and I watch the discussions out there, and when a small studio closes their doors, people go, "Oh, that's too bad. That sucks." I like that game was good. I don't have a link to it, but it was like 2 weeks ago. I saw another one of these studios shutting their doors, and all the discussion is, "Oh, why? That was a fun little game." Big studio has to close one of their groups making a game, and some of those people can do other things inside the company, and some of those people can't. What a big game company is a bunch of small studios. And if one of those small studios needs to close down, some people get laid off. It sucks when the small studio closes, and it sucks when the big studio has a small studio that closes as well. Larian coming out from the top of the heap, sitting on a giant pile of money and saying, well, if you just, first you get $100 million. Then if games slow down or you need to go a different direction, you just use some of your $100 million. That's kind of what they've been saying in these couple updates of theirs. And it's kind of a privileged position and easy to say when they're from that side of the business. And just as a counterpoint, big company having to close one of their teams because they are a year into a 5-year game and they realize there's now no more market for that 5-year game because the market has changed is something that is inevitable in the broad scope of the gaming industry. That's going to happen. And that's what a big game company is. It's a bunch of small teams. It's not some king sitting on top saying, hire 10,000, now fire 5,000. It's individual small teams getting together and saying, hey, we want to spin up the game. We're going to pitch it. Okay, we pitched it. The board says we can do this game. Okay, we're doing this game. I'm going to hire a bunch of people. Okay, I hired 100 people to make this game. Well, crap. Now this game isn't going to work out. The market isn't there. If they were a small studio and they closed down at that point, nobody would blink. They wouldn't call them evil. But because the big company does it, we now, the internet, the elite dudes now say they are evil. Ubisoft, as an example, over the course of the past 2 years, has barely made any profit. So this is their expenses minus the revenue coming in from their games. For whatever reason, you can say their games suck or whatever, so it's their F up in not making Baldur's Gate, not being Larian, not making the number. Why didn't you just make the number 1 game of the year? Okay, fine. You can say that. Can anybody say that the latest Prince of Persia game isn't really, really good? Their fiscal year ending in September of 2023, they had 0 operating margin. So they're not sitting on a big pile of money. They're not giving money to the man and firing a bunch of people to make themselves look better. They have projects that aren't working out. And if those projects don't work out, some of those people can do other things. A lot of big companies, when they do this the right way, try to absorb as much of that as possible, but sometimes you can't. I'm just making the point that they're not evil people. So, and that's not what these Larian execs are saying. They're not saying that they're evil, but the internet is definitely saying that they're evil. The internet is saying that the executives should all be fired and thrown in jail, and they're just evil.
Right.
And
and the internet also says, the dev that made the mechanic that they don't like should be fired.
Or worse, yes. And the internet already also says that the earth is flat. So,
right.
Again, and I'm not arguing to them. I'm arguing to myself to remind us that it is, as he says down here, buried in him calling everybody else basically evil. It's a very, very complex and nuanced decision.
And I would bet that every company that does a layoff, they, at least in my world, I want to believe that they look at that and say, how could we have done this better so that we don't end up in this situation again? And yes, there's mistakes that were made somewhere, which he calls an F up.
Yeah, but F up makes it sound like you effed up, and the fact that the gaming industry changes, which can be out of your control. Things happening out of the control of a team or a game or a design or a business, I guess that's an F up because you didn't predict the future. But just saying it's an F up makes it seem like you did something bad.
Like it was capricious, right? Yeah, right. I think everyone can accept that you can't always foretell the future. I get that, but I also think it's really easy to make yourself look better by reducing your costs, and laying off people is kind of low-hanging fruit for that.
Yes, but Larian didn't do, or Ubisoft didn't do it to get themselves out of the 0 operating margin of 2023.
But people do.
Now, when you're going negative and the company's starting to lose money, but people do. And there are bad actors. Again, nothing is...
I'm not even saying they're bad actors.
inevitable.
I'm just saying that it's a dial they can move.
It is, but it's not all that's happening, and that's the way elite dudes and their clickbait articles and videos and tweets are treating it.
Right. Yeah, eFlex points out, also every game is dead.
Yes. Every game is dead. Every game is terrible, except that if you're not game of the year, you suck. And are terrible. There's maybe 3 good games made a year, And if you didn't make one of those three, then you suck and you're terrible and you deserve to go out of business. But if you do go out of business and you fire people because now you have no more money and you went out of business, well, then you're also evil and you should be thrown in jail. So basically, if you don't make Game of the Year, you should just go to jail. We should make a special jail for gaming.
Do not pass go.
Okay. So that was my little counterpoint. The internet is wrong.
Now
Larry,
I'm picturing the little
wrong.
Monopoly dude sending gaming CEOs to jail.
He's the one who needs to go to jail.
Right,
and that was the whole point of Monopoly. People don't even realize this. The whole point
of
Monopoly was
to teach little kids
a criticism of unregulated markets. And people don't treat it that way. They treat it like it's good to the unregulated market, and having the monopoly is the winning move.
Is right, exactly.
Anyway, there's counterpoint of the day.
Speaking of Mandela effect, do you think the Monopoly man wears a monocle or no monocle?
Oh, good question. Yes, monocle is in my head.
It's in my head too, but he does not wear a monocle. Mr. Peanut wears a monocle.
Mr. Peanut wears a monocle.
Who, by the way, sadly has died.
Mr. Peanut?
Yes, I just found that out. He died in 2019.
The character?
Yes, in a Super Bowl ad.
They killed him?
He killed him. In fact, he let himself die to save his friends.
What? This is terrible.
I don't know why they did it. But he's gone now.
See this pattern that I have up on the screen right now? This is a mandala. And what you meant to say, Sema, was the mandala effect.
Right, I did. That's what I did.
And that's always what it's been. And that's
will be.
Always what it's meant. That's the origin of that phrase, the mandala effect. It has nothing to do with Nelson Mandela, if that's what anyone was thinking. There's this little meta moment of the day for you. As always, thanks to all of you out there for following and listening. If you need any of the subscribe links or audio or video, they're all on newoverlords.com. Special thanks to everyone that hangs out with us live here in the Twitch or in our Discord, where we talk about fun stuff pretty much all day, every day. Lately, it's been a lot of ARK talk, but a lot of eclipse photos. Corley took some really good photos out there of the eclipse. Those are going back and forth in our Discord as well. So jump in there if you want to see what Corley did with the eclipse up there in New York. Also, don't forget, if you're looking for a big family-friendly gaming community, check out Alea Jagd Est. That's the guild we play in for most of our games, our big MMOs in particular. AIE-guild.org for the AIE Discord. Hey, Sema, did you see the eclipse?
I saw it from where I am right now, which was a partial eclipse, but it was still amazing.
Right. I saw partial also, and it was very cool. I had seen the totality in 2017. We went down to St. Louis, and we're in the path of totality. And that was a whole different thing. And that, takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
But even just being out and about and around, it was a clear day. I don't have a solar filter for my digital camera, for my Sony, but I had a polarizing filter. It wasn't enough. I did hold, awkwardly, stood there and held the eclipse glasses in front of the lens on my iPhone. And I took a picture, and I kind of got one. But I figured I wasn't really interested in taking a bunch of pictures. Corley did it right. You have to get the right equipment. You have to take a whole bunch of them, and then you have to do processing on top of it. I also knew that NASA would have some really good pictures that I could go and use as much as I want, and NASA's really good about that. But that was cool.
Well, I was waiting for it to happen. I did watch a bit of it online as it went through Texas and Arkansas and on up. And that was cool.
Watching it come across. If you've ever seen the pictures from high altitude, watching the shadow go across the land, that's also a really cool, interesting wild concept as well. We also played some games, though, didn't we?
It looks like meat's back on our menu, boy. No way. God, finally. Oh, I kind of like the magical bread.
Now, did you play? We're going to talk a lot about WoW because there's a bunch of roadmap kind of news that's coming up, or not news or news. Anyway, did you play WoW this past week?
Yeah, yes, I did play WoW a little bit this week. I mean, I had family in town, so I didn't play much of anything. I thought you were going to ask me if I played Cataclysm back in the day.
Yeah, well, that's a good question too, as you can see,
Which
right here.
I
Because
did.
it's coming, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's the deal.
I played a little bit of it back in the day, but that was the beginning of my break from WoW because I was not in love with the changes to the world, but I would have stayed through that anyway, except that my circle of friends that was playing broke up and stopped playing. And then at the time, I didn't have, I wasn't a part of AIE, so I didn't have that. So I was looking forward to like playing it for real this time and doing the instances, the dungeons, and doing the raids and having a group of friends to go through it with. And we thought, and I went back through the BlizzCon notes, and I don't think they ever said this, or maybe they did, but that's how we got around to talking about the Mandela effect. I had it in my mind that that Cataclysm was going to be around the middle of the year, summer. And I also had it in my mind that they had said they'd had to push it back. So in my mind, I keep saying in my mind because it was wrong, that it was going to be more like October, November. And so they just announced this week that it's going to be in May and that the pre-patch is going to start at the end of this month.
And we're already halfway through April. So
right. And like I've been saying all along on this show, like I'm leveling my Cataclysm, my Druid for Cataclysm, but that I don't have to rush because I have until next summer. Luckily, I have leveled her. I didn't rush, but I still finished. But there's other things that we want to do to prepare for Cataclysm that now we have not that much time to do. But the thing that really has us, I will say, afraid is that they also published the roadmap for Cataclysm, and it's like they want to get it like started and done within a year. And I don't know what's pushing that. Like, I literally don't know what's pushing that. To me, I feel like, oh no, that means we're not going to be able to do a fun, sort of romp through the raids. We're going to have to play every day, get our gear, do our heroics, blah, 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 blah. And every time we don't get a boss down, we're going to be a week behind, and then to be ready for the next one. And like Firelands, for instance, is only on the roadmap is only going to be out for like 3 months before the next thing. And I just feel like,
so what do you think that they're doing there?
I don't know. We were in ICC for months and months.
Right.
So I don't know.
What were you telling me about Miss Pandaria? That you think it is going to be coming to Classic, or maybe not?
So here's how Miss Pandaria figures in. Also this week, Blizzard announced a new feature for retail, which is called WoW Remix. And basically what it is it's going to be a new leveling option that you can have. Start a new character, he'll start at level 10, go into this special track, which is you can play all the zones of Mr. Pandaria, all the scenarios, if you remember those. Those are like one-person dungeons. All the dungeons and all the raids. And come out, and then you get all new rewards that haven't a bunch of new rewards that haven't existed before, including transmog that you can use on all your other retail characters. And then when you come out as a level 70 character, and then you can play Dragonflight at that point if you want to, or you can be ready for the War Within to come, later in the year. So a lot of Classic people are looking at that and going, well, is this the end of Classic then? Like they're telescoping Cataclysm down into just like a blip on the
Mhm.
radar, and then they're giving a redo of Pandaria to retail.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yes, maybe, we don't know.
Yeah, that is weird.
My first take on it, and I'm not sure this is right, but my first take on it when I read the announcement was that it was kind of like how Plunderstorm, which is still going on, but just is a new event, is kind of for people who love to PvP. That this would be an event, because it's limited time, also like Plunderstorm is, that it's for people who love to level. Like when you think, oh, it's been a while since I played through Pandaria, I'm going to start a new character, blah, 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 blah. Because that's what you're doing in this. Nope, there's no PvP option or whatever. I don't know that for sure. Maybe you can join Battlegrounds. I don't know, but there's key differences, right? Because like when you finish this, you keep your character. Like Plunderstorm, you don't have a character that comes out of it. It's more like Heroes of the Storm, where you're a new character every time you play it.
Right.
So you keep the character. I feel like maybe the thought behind this could be something like, this is an easy way for someone who hasn't played WoW in a while to think about returning, right? Like if they loved MoP, they might think, I'm kind of interested in War Within, but I don't know if I want to level through Shadowlands and Battle for Azeroth and Legion and blah, 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 blah. But I really liked MoP.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a way of capturing all those people who loved MoP, which they should love MoP.
Sure.
An easy way to come back and be ready for the War Within, even though they will have to go 10 more, however many more levels for the War Within.
Why do people love Mr. Pandaria so much?
Well,
because
it's
don't.
very lush.
I mean, it's pretty and nice, but it seemed to me to be such a departure from the world of Warcraft.
Yes, and I think that's kind of part of it, right? It's like it was different, talents and skills and combat changed. I didn't play MoP either. So like when I left during Cataclysm, I completely missed MoP. I've played through a lot of MoP because I came back in the next one, Warlords of Draenor, and then I went back and did a bunch of MoP for pet battles. And then also with leveling, alts and stuff like that. But I've never been like through it as a leveling experience, and I've never done a lot of the dungeons and the raids. Some people love the raids.
Now, I did not do the raids in many, but I definitely did the solo game to max level, at least on one, if not multiple characters in every single expansion. So my experience with Mr. Pandaria was one of my... I wouldn't say I disliked it at all. I thought it was cool, and I thought it really looked cool, but it was one of my least... If I was going to like rank them, they're all going to be in the Sema ranking. They're all going to be like A tier or above, but definitely not S tier. This is definitely not going to be ranked at the top of the heap. And in fact, Warlords of Draenor, I liked a lot better, and I know a lot of people didn't like it. And I get that some people don't like it because of the systems.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like the solo experience and leveling up, and even getting into some of like at least the dungeons, if not some of the raids, I didn't do very many of the raids at all from Cataclysm forward.
When you read about WoW Remix too, they say things like, you'll be almost all powerful, and the leveling is really quick, and you're going to be able to get almost everything. Like there's things that are rare drops, but I guess they're just slightly more rare. You still have a pretty good chance of getting them. And if you don't get them, there's going to be a currency that you accumulate to buy them. So part
I think
of
any reason I would want to go and do that though, or what I would even want to get. So that's interesting.
So it's stuff that
I'm
you
sure
don't
that
know.
People do.
The stuff that you don't know about yet. So if you're not a collector, you're not a collector.
New stuff.
Yes.
Oh, it's not like the Shah mount rare drop, whatever.
Right.
And now you can finally get it because you couldn't get it before.
Right. It's not like it might be a recolor of that, because they did mention they're going to do some recolors of mounts and stuff.
Got it.
But yeah, and I don't. So like Plunderstorm, this is a sort of microcosm version of WoW that exists, next to WoW. Like you can't go in and play this and your friend come in with you.
Oh, really?
Like you could probably play together if you both start a new character and go into this system.
Oh, it's like outside the main game world?
Yeah.
But then you can bring the character into the main game world when you're done?
Yeah.
Weird. Why do they need another thing? They have like 50
Okay,
million
that's a
things.
good question. I mean, some people have speculated that this is a possible replacement for Chromie Time, which is a system they came up with to help make leveling less
Right.
overwhelming.
And works great. I've done Chromie Time and picked the land that I wanted to level up in, and it worked great.
Yes.
Why did
But I'm wondering if they're talking, and I don't know if WoW gets any new players, but I wonder if they're thinking like a new player comes and Comey says, well, where do you want to level? And they're just like, so
Well,
I don't
if
know.
this is the only one of these that they're ever going to do, then fine. But then what happens when they do Warlords of Draenor version of this, and then Chromie pops up and says, now this isn't even connected to the main world where you want to start a character, but now which one of these do you want to do?
I don't know. I don't think Chromie's going to have anything to do with this.
No,
but
whatever. I'm just meant.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pick unless they're ever going to do another one.
Of course, they haven't said anything about doing it for other X packs, but they did call it WoW Remix, not MOP Remix. So.
Yeah, WoW Remix : Mist of Pandaria right there.
Right. So maybe WoW Remix : Shadowlands. I doubt it, but
Yeah,
or
sure.
BFA, or I mean, people enjoyed BFA, like not while it was happening, obviously, but
looking back with the rose-colored glasses,
yeah.
It's always the worst possible thing at the time. Then you look back and go, "Hey, that's pretty."
For a while, Blizzard, and I'm saying Blizzard like I know what Blizzard thinks, has
it's only one thing.
It's only one thing, has been sort of worried that when you have this many X packs and you have to get to such a high level, that a new player coming in won't have a chance to get sucked in because they'll just go, oh my god, I don't understand this, and I have to do 80 levels. I don't think so, whereas this is kind of like a bubble. It's like a giant starting area, maybe.
Kind of. Okay. That's actually probably that gels as an analog in my mind. That sounds kind of like what it is. Interesting.
And it kind of also has an appeal for current players that have some nostalgia about Pandaria, and they might be collectors, want some new stuff. Like there was a high sort of friction. If you're a collector and you wanted this stuff from Plunderstorm, right? You had to develop ways to exist outside what you like doing in order to get the rewards from Plunderstorm. For those people that it was like that for them in Plunderstorm, this should be like coming home, right?
And I do like the idea of interesting ways to satisfy those alcoholics in new and fun ways. I get into that from time to time when it's been up and all.
Yeah,
and
I do
if you
too.
have been gone for a long time and want to come back, one of the easiest ways to come back to an MMO that you haven't played in a long time is to start a new character. So it could be interesting from that. But
and this way you can do that, and you can be playing with your max level friends pretty soon, according to how they describe.
Chat, to not have, I mean, it does take you out of it a little bit, which is weird. A starting area is a starting area, and that's fine. But that's only a couple hours.
I wonder, like, one of the things also kind of did me in early on in Cataclysm is the goblin starting area. I really disliked the fact that I felt trapped there. I wanted to go check my mail. I wanted to go to Orgrimmar. I wanted to, like, interact. I wanted to, and you can't get out. There's no way to get out of the goblin starting area until you're finished with it. And sometimes you could be, like, 20 before that happened.
And this is going to be a worse version.
I wonder, unless I'm totally misinterpreting what I've read, it seems like this is going to be like that.
And
maybe you can get to a point where you can opt out. Like I had the same experience in Star Wars: The Old Republic recently. I started playing chapters on one of my characters, not realizing that by doing that, I set some things in motion that I wasn't going to be able to get out of. I thought I could just play a couple chapters, get some XP, and then decide to do something else.
Right.
And really doesn't work that way. And I can see people going into this version of MOP and going, okay, I get it. Now I want to go do a dungeon with my friends.
Right. And who knows if they're going to be able to.
I think no, because one of the things they specifically said was when you're doing this, you will not be able to access the auction house.
Okay.
I
But
think
to your point, will there be a way to exit? To take
Can I mail
some
stuff
sort
to
of
my alt?
off-ramp?
Can I mail stuff to my alt?
Yeah.
Will my alt be able to, ride all my mounts and play with my pets?
Right.
Use transmogs?
Yeah,
I don't know. The more questions I ask, I'm actually getting a little bit more interested in it.
So there are so many worlds of Warcraft. This is them like spinning up yet another world. And getting back to the roadmap situation. So that's going to get thrown in here. I think that probably doesn't affect the roadmap, but I sort of went a little bit past the whole Cataclysm, and the people that are playing Classic, who will probably, they're Warcraft fans, I would say some percentage, and I would imagine it's a relatively high percentage. It's not going to be like 5%, 10%. It's going to be probably more like at least 60%, I would think, would want to try War Within, World of Warcraft War Within. I wonder if that whole accelerate, get Cataclysm out now in May, because what they've got on the roadmap now is that the pre-patch is coming in summer, and War Within is end of summer, beginning of autumn is where that's straddling on their roadmap. It's obviously it's not exact at all, but that's a coming. That's a coming in months, not years. Maybe it is intended for you to rush through Cataclysm, rush, get a bunch of stuff done, and because most of those people, or a big chunk of those people, are going to want to go play War Within.
I think that they are looking at it the other way around. That if people want to play the world, their retail people get bored before the War Within is out, then maybe they go spend some time in Cataclysm. I don't think they're. I think.
Can you do that though? Like I leveled in Classic to 60, but if I wanted like, oh, that sounds fun, Cataclysm dropped, let me go play Cataclysm. I can't, can I? I can't.
Well, I mean, if you want to play that character, you could if you leveled him another 10 levels, but
okay, so you got to.
What if you wanted to start a new character or whatever? So,
yeah,
I don't think they're thinking, oh gosh, we hope a bunch of Cataclysm people will play the War Within. I think they're thinking Cataclysm is just like a backdrop for all their a garbage dump for all their other players to like spend some time in if they need it, because it doesn't feel like they're saying.
I don't know.
I feel like they're saying the people who just play Classic are not on their radar.
You think that? Because I got the feeling from the BlizzCon talks that the Kata team, the Classic team, was very focused on Classic being its own thing. And
okay, so I maybe
misspoke.
Experience. I think they were very focused on Season of Discovery.
It was also very Season of Discovery, right? So
I think, yeah, I don't know. I'm just
too many worlds.
No, that really short roadmap just threw us all for a loop. I don't get that because I don't. What's the advantage to? I don't know. I don't know. And if they have people, like if they have numbers that tell them that people only want to, sweat, gear up, play a raid, then quit. Okay, then I guess that's why they're doing it. But I can't believe that that's the lion's share, right? Like we're definitely there to raid, but we don't think we're going to do it at that rate. But we'll see, maybe we're wrong.
It did make me think while we were talking about that if I wanted to jump in there and take advantage of this, as you're saying, and go play some Cataclysm Classic as it's coming out, because I'm excited about War Within, I don't have a character that's up to speed and ready to play Cataclysm. You know what they need in Classic is a separate area where I can start a new character and an accelerated leveling. So they need a Classic remix.
Well, I mean, I believe there is a boost, like a level 70 boost. It's
Yeah.
not the same. I understand that, but no.
And then they need a Season of Discovery remix.
Yes.
Because Season of Discovery is progressing, and you can't just jump into Season of Discovery because Season of Discovery has its thing where like the next level tier comes out. So did the level 50 tier of Season of Discovery finally come out? That was supposed to come out about now. It's on this roadmap, and I haven't been paying attention to Season of Discovery. And that's another thing. And level 60 is coming in Season of Discovery right after Cataclysm comes out, according to this roadmap.
Yeah.
And that's another one that's weird because you can't just jump into Season of Discovery anymore. They're getting like too many things where they need like catch-up mechanics for everything now.
I mean, I'm fine with the concept of them having lots of different things to suit lots of different people. I'm frustrated right now because I don't understand. I wish they would just stand up and say what their strategy is here. And I don't think they will because, they don't really owe us that, but I would like to know.
Every time I get left behind in an MMO as it progresses, the gravity pulling me back decreases by a square of distance.
Yes. Right. And I think that's why things like Chromie Time and this WoW remix, they're trying to fight that. I don't know if it does fight that. Like,
and
you tell me, does that make you feel like you want to play more than?
Kind of yes, kind of no. But my bigger overarching issue is I now have that problem with 3 different worlds of Warcraft. I now have that problem with Season of Discovery, and I have that problem with Classic, and I have that problem with retail. And they're not solving it. They're solving it for retail. Now they've got 2 others where I would imagine that the population that's sticking with Season of Discovery is going to be diminishing over time because the same thing. People are going to feel left behind, and new players aren't going to want to jump in when everyone else is now doing the level 60 content. It seems like they need to do something that just,
and a lot of people are
like
playing
free boosts, like just unlimited boosts for Cataclysm and Season of Discovery is what I would probably end up doing. Unlimited boosts. Do you want to boost a character? Free, just boost, catch you up. So, because if I had unlimited free boosts in those other, when I'm, I know this might piss people off, but I consider them sort of secondary worlds. Maybe you don't want to do that with your premium retail roadmap. You want people to subscribe, and maybe but if they're subscribing to all of these, maybe there's a reason not to do it there either. But maybe they just need unlimited boosts everywhere.
I mean, this is one reason why I started out playing Season Discovery and didn't get far because I ran out of game hours in the day.
Right. But if you had unlimited boosts and now you could just catch back up with a level 60 because you felt like, ducking back in there, you're not going to go back to Season of Discovery now. Right.
And so if you take the leveling out of an MMO, that's a big part of it. It makes it more like a non-MMO game. And I think that's part of it too.
But you wouldn't have to take it out. You would, because the boost doesn't level you up to max level. It levels up to max level minus 10, right?
Yeah.
So do that. Then,
but if you're designing the boost, you could make it go to max level.
All my levels are max level, Sema, as well. Last part of this, you said, again, all of the worlds of Warcraft doing crazy things. Dark Moonfare is coming to all of the worlds of Warcraft?
It's coming to Warcraft Rumble. And because I have never played Warcraft Rumble, I don't know what that exactly means. But speaking of Warcraft Rumble, it's sort of like, I don't want to play Warcraft Rumble because nothing about the game actually appeals to me. But they could have had a mobile game for me, like 10 years ago. If they just would have made Pet Battles
Right.
a mobile game.
Or probably still could.
Or if they even just made, I don't know, well, maybe there is a way to do transmog, but so many sub things of WoW could have been a mobile game. But I get it. Maybe they're late to the mobile game party, and right now it wouldn't make sense really to do a pet battle. Maybe, I don't know.
And
I just feel
think
like
their point with this was less of making a WoW mobile game as making a Clash of Clans game, and they just happened to use WoW as the IP to skin it.
Well, I think the point of it is they wanted to capture some of the mobile market, which is a huge part of the gaming market.
Right. And
it's like more than any other part.
They probably could have done it with StarCraft instead of WoW, just as easily. They probably just felt like WoW was a better property, IP to do it with. Their point was to make the Clash of Clans mobile game. But yeah, WoW. What about for the WoW players? So this is a Clash of Clans players that has WoW familiar stuff in it. What about an actual WoW mobile game for the WoW players? Like Pet Battles. Although Pet Battles, I guess you could argue, is not even really.
I mean, they had a mobile client for a while that would do the
auction house,
right? And they had one that would do the quests from the, little table in your garrison.
Oh, right, garrison table.
Yeah.
See, I liked Warlords of Draenor. We're going to talk about in the next couple weeks probably building, housing, house systems in games in general. Warlords of Draenor pops into my head when I think about that as one of the only times that WoW has really gone down that path, and I liked it. And I still like it. Every once in a while, I like to go back to my Warlords of Draenor little village.
I do that too.
And just hang out there.
I tried to do it the other day, but I couldn't find my garrison Hearthstone in my inventory.
Yeah.
Because I was in Wrath.
Oh. It's a different world of Warcraft.
Right.
They just need to put an S on that. It's Worlds of Warcraft now. So.
But some people also speculated that maybe what they're after is something like what Fortnite's doing. Everything's a Fortnite.
A universe.
Everything's in the Fortnite, and everything is in this WoW universe. I don't know.
They would have a long way to go. What Fortnite's becoming a platform.
Right.
And I don't think Blizzard is positioned to make World of Warcraft a platform.
Well, no, but they might be saying let's spin that idea and make it the lore stuff, like the characters and the look and the stuff.
Yeah.
It's different platforms for sure.
Anything else, WoW, before we move on?
Probably.
Okay, well, shout
I'll
it out.
interrupt you later. Yeah.
Yes. Sounds good. I played a little bit of, and I meant to play a whole bunch more, but I've been sucked into other things, which we'll also talk about in just a second. But I at least got through a good chunk of Horizon Forbidden West, Aloy and her little journey. This is good content. It is a good game. I am a big fan of the Horizon series. I traditionally haven't been a big fan of pure sort of story RPG, which this really is. It's very story driven, and you're playing the story. You're locked in. It's not super linear. There's a little bit more of an open world, and you can go to some different places. You can do some different things along the way, but it's pretty linear in where you go and why you're going there and going from step to step to step. But it's really done well. It's pretty. The characters are good. The story is good and compelling. I really like the story. It's the story of another post-apocalyptic world. It's a world where robots, AI, ran out of control and destroyed the world. Humanity is pushed back into somewhat more of a primitive survival phase, and the AI sort of crashed and burned as well, but there are a bunch of remnants around. A bunch of the remnants are represented, as you're sort of seeing on the screen here right now, by these robotic forms, nature forms of robots. And that's what you end up fighting against and using as tools and riding. And there's evil ones and there's good ones and there's like tame ones. It's really, really cool and interesting. That robot dinosaurs is what I really like. There's lore reasons why it's all made out of they look like creatures from Earth present or past. There's reasons for that, and you find out that as you go along. The gameplay is fighting a lot of these things, a little bit of like gathering to make your weapons and your armor and craft your ammo and craft your healing potions or whatever. There's a relatively substantial stealth game associated with it, and the stealth game is okay because if I could do a little bit of stealth and get some advantages out of it, but just going in guns blazing also works 99% of the time too. So this is one of those situations where I'll go stealth, and all right, I'm done with that. We're just going to just shoot things now. So I do that quite a bit. It has some platforming and climbing. You can see her doing that right now. She's got like a grapple. She's got a couple new tricks this game that she didn't have the other tricks. She's got sort of a thing that like a grip pull that she can yank things to her that she didn't have in the past. And that changes some of the environmental puzzles. Like, wow, there's sort of a crane arm. And if I pull that to me, then now I'll have a place to jump over and jump across, and I can run across and do some platforming. This is pretty good in the platforming, as a lot of the games that do this well are, in that it's pretty forgiving in terms of if there's a handhold and you press a button anywhere, pointing in that general direction, you reach out and grab the handhold. It's not, nope, you didn't get to the end pixel on the timing of that button and you didn't stand in the exact right pixel on the screen to make that jump. It's not really that way, which I also appreciate. I don't want to be falling every 2 seconds, and I barely fall in this game, and I'm not a fan of platforming and tend to not be good at it. So it feels good from that perspective.
Cool.
But the animation, the environment's really lush and beautiful. Aloy is a great character. They put a lot of care into animating. One of the things that you do, there are some characters from the first game that you get to catch back up on and see. This is weird. This is their gameplay trailer, but I feel like this is giving away a bunch of story elements. So I'm going to just go further ahead to where she's just fighting things. I like the care that they take to animate. And one of the ways I think it manifests really well, and it did a great job if you play the beginning, especially of the first game, Horizon Zero Dawn, is Aloy is a little girl. She's like a 5-year-old kid for the first half hour of the game, and you play as Aloy, the little 5-year-old kid. They animate little kids in this game really, really well. The way they stand, the way they fidget, the way they bounce on the balls of their feet when they're talking to you, and and they're sort of like looking around. They must have got a bunch of kids in a room and either mocapped the kids or just very talented animators that picked up on what kids do and say and how they act. And that's the kind of care that I appreciate that they were able to do to make this game really work. That's just one of the elements. All of the creatures and animals in Aloy are animated really well as well. So yeah, it's a story I can get into because it's primitive. I mean, it's kind of like why I like ARK as well.
And it's Lacano dinosaurs.
Right. There's a bunch of sci-fi. It's primitive bows and arrows and survival out in the wilderness, but it's also sci-fi. And what you're discovering about the world and what you're fighting against is Aloy herself is becoming educated on what the reality is of what their world is. This is post-apocalypse, and not even everyone even knows what happened. This is just the world they live in. Aloy ends up learning all about it and what actually went on and what the corporations did that unleashed this on the world on accident. And so she knows, and now she's even like shining a light on it for other people and teaching them about what's going on. But it's a bunch of sci-fi then. It's the how did this happen? What was the tech behind it? What is Aloy doing to shut down the current AI? What is the program that she's uploading? So I like the tech parts of it, and that works well. It's a fine tech story, sci-fi story too. Yeah, you can see what she's doing here. She's got like the hologram, and she just knows exactly what she's up to. She's got all the tech. She's doing a Tony Stark thing on this hologram. In this version of the game, she's deep into it. She's not learning about how like the technology can be used. She's a veteran of the sci-fi parts of the game, which is fun too, because now you don't have to be like, oh, what is a laser beam? She's a little bit past that at this point. So yeah, I noticed that there's game reviewers out there that are giving scores, like IGN is giving a score to the PC release. And it's not going to be, I would think, unless they screwed up the port, very different from the originals. But a bunch of those releases are out there, and they've come out in the past month since it came to PC, and it's very highly rated, the PC port. They did a very good job. I didn't run into any problems in the hours that I've played so far. I'm very early in the game. I do expect to go all the way through it. There's not a lot of story RPGs that I'll play all the way through. I played through Zero Dawn all the way through, and I expect to go through this one too. Couple things I would say that I think it's missing, which I think is an interesting conversation and probably doesn't matter to a lot of people, but is kind of matters to me, is the feeling of persistence of the world and the character in my mind from an RPG perspective. And what I mean by that is it can manifest in a few different ways. One way that it manifests easily in RPGs and in MMOs is your gear. Did you get the Thunder Fury Blessed Blade of the Windseeker? And do you have an attachment to how you got that thing? And now it's in your mind that it's a thing that you now have and you want to go back. She's got a couple cool things, and you can get like a legendary version of her, like her staff, but she's always got a staff. And so it's like a slightly different staff. And I don't feel an attachment to any of her gear at all. And then the other thing is, building, housing, making a base for yourself. There's none of that in this game either, really. So
right.
I don't feel persistence to that as well. But there's enough of a strong story that it carries me through. But for me, I would say that would be, if they need to have a lot, and luckily it does. Otherwise, yeah, they would have lost me because of those kinds of persistence elements that don't kind of pull me back in and don't get me addicted to it, which is the next thing we're going to talk about, which is ARK, which I'm definitely addicted to. So yeah, any questions you have on?
I mean, that looks amazing.
It's pretty. It's a pretty game, and Aloy is really well animated. I just love her hair, how it works really well. She's got a kind of like that flowing, a mix of braids, dreadlocks, kind of dreadlocky braids, but it always looks good. It's never like clipping too bad. It looks good no matter what direction she moves. And then the tech sci-fi elements, you can see when she's shooting this big dino, she's shooting it in specific spots. You have different abilities which will light up what those spots are, so that you can shoot in those specific spots to do more damage or to knock off, like it's laser turrets, so then it can't shoot those laser turrets at you anymore, those kinds of things. So it tends to work. She's going to shoot it in the eye, but it's a weak spot. And you get different ability trees to highlight and illuminate where the different weak spots are if you decide to invest in that tree. Or you could go a brute force method, or you could go a stealth method, and you can unlock different abilities and play in different ways. There's not a ton. It's not like different classes. It's very lightweight in terms of, it's sort of like weapon specializations instead of full class builds. So Dragon's Dogma, you would be a completely different class. You don't really get that in this kind of game. But there's enough differentiation where you can customize the gameplay to your style, I would say.
Can you play this in VR?
No, they do have a VR game.
Have you played that one?
No, I've not. I've forgotten about it until you told me, until you just
Well, I
reminded
mean,
me.
I was reading Forrester's comment in chat, so it made me think of it.
Yeah. So Forster's asking about the VR Horizon game. So it's like VR Forbidden Mountain or VR Climb the Mountain type of game. I have not. The one thing that turned me off is I don't like VR like climbing games, traversal games, like where you're like climbing around and then you're grappling, and I tend to not like those VR games. But I like the world so much, I've been meaning to try it regardless, even though I figure I won't want to play very much of it. And maybe I'm wrong. So I don't know, Forster, if you played it or if anyone has, I would love to hear your take on it. Jump in our Discord and let me know, because I am also a VR fan. I did try to play with a controller. So I played keyboard. I felt like it really seems like she's rolling and dodging and shooting. It seems like it's really made for a controller. I just plugged in my controller. I tried it for about 30 seconds and I went back to the keyboard. Because it's like, okay, we're gonna light up okay, here's this little area, this one little glowing bit on this giant dinosaur that's stomping around and you're running around. That's what you need to shoot. Then I pick up my controller and I move the thumbstick and I'm like moving the cursor, just moving around, trying to zoom in with the mouse. You're like, oh, click, I'm gonna shoot that. Bang, I shoot it. With the controller, I'm like,
Right.
I'm sure you would get better at it. Back when Halo multiplayer first launched, I could do headshots with the pistol, with the best of them. I used to be able to use a controller, so I think you could get better at it. But I am not going to sink the hours in that I would need to get that muscle memory back to be able to play with a controller. I am mouse and keyboard these days. I also really like mouse and keyboard because I never play on my Xbox. I play on the PC because I've got 3 screens. I got a big screen in front of me, and I've got Discord, and I've got websites, and I've got Steam up over here, always updating something. I've got like 10 games updating every day on Steam. I got to keep a track of what's going on there. So I'm mouse and keyboard anyway. But yeah, it's cool. Recommended. I will keep you up to date as I go further in the game and tell you if I like the story or not. Won't be doing story spoilers, though. Should we talk about ARK? I talk a lot about ARK. Should I
just
give
a
you
little
an update of
Yes.
where I'm at? I'll bring up some videos for those playing at home. So last we talked, I was just getting into Scorched Earth. So Scorched Earth is the second map that they've released for ARK Survival Ascended, which is a remaster of the original game. It's ARK Survival Evolved, ARK Survival Ascended. There's like 8 maps that they're going to be releasing for ARK Survival Ascended. When we talked last, I was just starting out in ARK Survival Ascended and having a bad time of it, which you're supposed to. The whole idea of ARK Survival Ascended Scorched Earth is it's a rough environment. It's a rough world. And it's kind of playing hard mode. My first days, I was walking out. I launched into the world. There was this superheat heat wave going on, and it was killing me. So I was getting hypothermia. It's the lower right of the screen here, just behind Sema's little marker there. You're getting superheat, hypothermia is killing me. I'm about to die. Tons of that going on. I've now overcome that, and that's the point. And that's really the fun of survival games, of course, is the further you go, the more mitigating tools you have at your disposal. I'd made myself a bunch of very good gear. I upped my stats, so you get a stat called Fortitude that helps you out a little bit, but it's mostly gear-based these days. You can't like overpower all of the environmental effects with just pumping points into Fortitude. So I've gone very far into that part of the game. I've gone very far into building. So now I've expanded my base. I have this nice big base. I've gotten most of what I would say is sort of like the end game crafting units. You can see I've got the big vaults, which are sort of the end game storage unit. I've got the industrial forge built, And then one of the ultimate end game kind of creatures that you go off and tame in Scorched Earth are the wyverns. So there's a big trench with these very dangerous dragon creature, wyvern creatures. And the first wyvern especially that you tame is the hardest, because once you have a wyvern, it makes it easier to go get the eggs to tame the future wyverns. I have a baby wyvern here in the barn that I'm showing off, and I've hatched a bunch of them now. I've got these big thylacolios, which are the big sort of almost an endgame cat that you can use in the caverns. But this baby wyvern I have is very, very cool. But I have a handful of adult wyverns that I rule the skies with. The first one was really tough. I had to use, I was flying on this moth because the moths are pretty fast. Nothing's as fast as a wyvern. Well, I guess except a phoenix in its glide mode. And I showed you my phoenix there. That's another, I'll talk about that in a second. But the wyverns are very, very dangerous especially when you're new. And I had to fly around on sort of like this weak creature. You have to steal one of their eggs out of their nest. And once you grab an egg out of the nest, any wyverns like within a mile radius aggro to you instantly. So I had like 4 wyverns that came after me, and I'm on this little moth. But because I know what I'm doing, I had a little hut and a little storage box and a bed, a respawn point set up not too far away. So I grabbed the egg and I went to that little hut with 4 wyverns on my tail, dropped the egg into the storage box, closed the moth in the little hut that I built, went outside, opened up my arms, looked at the sky and said, "Come for me, come for me, wyverns, take me." And they killed me. And as soon as they kill you, the wyverns basically fly away. They kind of despawn. They fly away and they're gone, because what they don't want you to do is to be able to trap wyverns and save them, because getting the egg is only the first part. The second part is, once you get the egg, you need to find a female wyvern and you need to chase it down and knock it out. So you can't even just kill it. So you need to, this is again a more of a challenge. You could trap it, but if you get out of draw range, it will disappear. Basically, it flies away and escapes the trap. You need to knock it out. So the first one I did by trapping it and knocking it out, because if you knock it out, the female wyverns have milk, wyvern milk, and wyvern milk is the only way to get your baby wyvern to grow up. That's the only food that it will eat, and it will starve if it does not have wyvern milk. Usually a couple wyvern milks across its about 24 hours or 18 hours for it to get to full health in the settings that we have. It might be multiple days if you do not have the advanced accelerated like bonus maturity speed that we have for our dinos. So I did that. Raised my first dino, which was that lightning wyvern that I was flying around on. No, the poison wyvern was my first one. There's 3 types. There's poison, fire, and lightning. Each one has slightly different abilities. Right now here, I'm going to go get some milk for the baby wyvern that I was hatching. Once you have a male and a female of a specific type, you can then mate them and get baby wyverns out of that. There's no bonus levels to taming, so it's you still might get a better stat bonus, and you can get mutations by mating the wyverns together, but just even having a wyvern pretty much gets you to the end game of what you might want. You don't fight the end boss. There's only one sort of big boss of Scorched Earth, which is the Manticore. It's kind of an arena boss. There were 4 of them in the island. We talked about that. I fought the dragon, and I fought the brood mother, big spider queen. And what's the third one? Forgot. I'll remember it here in a second. There's only the Manticore in this map. You can't really bring I don't think you can bring wyverns into that fight even. So, but the wyverns rule the rest of the map, which is really fun then. So yeah, done a lot. And I was talking about the things that you might be missing in other games. I definitely have the feeling of persistence in ARK.
Right.
because I built this area and I have my pets, and you can name them and you can breed them and you can have new ones.
And you can show them to people.
Right. And we have a handful of people, at least. I'd say we still have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 or 8 people that are playing ARK in Scorched Earth now. And we get to help each other out and show things off and have each of our own bases and trade materials that other people need. And I think I got the Phoenix, and no one's gotten a Phoenix yet. I was pretty proud of that. Nepthan and his son got wyverns like really early, the first couple days. So that was really cool. So it's, a little bit of competition, feel a little bit of competition. How far is everybody getting? And definitely a lot of shared resources and shared knowledge. That makes it really fun. But the building always gets me as well. There's a lot of fun in this game in terms of the building materials. You get a new type of building material, which is the adobe materials in Scorched Earth. The adobe protects you from heat, but it's also a different look and texture. And then they've done a thing, and maybe I'll talk about this in the future a little bit more because we can get into what else is in it. But there's an expansion add-on called Bob's Tall Tales. Bob is the sort of nickname, colloquial term for the player character, the Bob. But Bob's Tall Tales is an expansion pack which gives you mostly cosmetic, but a couple different PvE expansion add-on elements to the game as well. But one of the cosmetic things that it gives you, which I could go back down here to the first floor, is different skins. And like those oil lamps that I've got on the wall at the end there, that came from the Bob's Tall Tales expansion pack. The boardwalk that I've got outside that's actually just the stone building material, but I put it's kind of like an Old West theme. I put the Old West boardwalk skin on those pieces. So that's kind of a fun aspect of it too. I'll go further into what else is in Bob's Tall Tales in the future. And then as they released 2 more of the expansion maps that are coming, and I said there's 8 of them, this add-on pack, even though it was $40, was kind of expensive, gets you additional content and tools and fun little side mini games in 2 more of those maps as well. So it's not just what's happening here at Scorched Earth. It's kind of like almost Battle Pass-ish and giving you unlocks and additional PvE stuff to have and do in those other maps as well. So it's their system of trying to get continuing revenue as everyone wants and needs. But yeah, so it's a fun part of it. Here's my Phoenix. It took me 2 hours, not the whole time standing at the keyboard. In fact, I've got a video of me catching it, but it took me 2 hours to get that Phoenix because I set up the trap. You got to set up the Phoenix trap, and then you need to wait for a heat wave. So you need to figure out where the Phoenix is, because during non-heat wave, it turns back into ashes and disappears. It's buried underground during that phase, and you can't see it, but I have a dyno, and there's a trick, that dyno can detect where it is. So you know the general area where it fell. Then you can build a trap apparatus is one way. The other way is you could just like try to trace it down in the air with multiple dragons, or try to use a flamethrower if it gets near the ground. What you need to do to tame it is you need to hit it with fire. And the more, this snake was biting me. The more it takes a long time to get its tame meter completed, you need to hit it with fire. So I set up a trap that I had seen in another video, which allowed me to bring my fire drag. And I didn't see someone do this. I feel like this was my little innovation. I got my fire wyvern, and I set up the little trap so it would be in that box and it wouldn't be able to fly away, because it'll fly away as soon as you hit it with fire. So I set up the trap in between the heat waves, and then you have to wait for a heat wave for it to appear, and then it's in the trap and you hit it with fire. The problem was, I told you, I spawned into the map when we talked about this last week, and heat wave after heat wave, and I was dying. Well, I finally get this trap all laid out and set. I don't even know if the trap's going to work. How long do you think? You can guess, Sema. How long do you think it took for the next heat wave to come around, even though they were coming around 5 minutes and killing me, the week prior? How long do you think it took?
You're asking me?
Yeah, it's a quiz. Guess. 2 hours. There, I spoiled it. 2 hours. And I was like, I've got
That's
OBS.
a long
I've
time.
got like OBS running. I'm like stopping it. I got bored and did something else. I killed some things. 2 hours, and I went like AFK. I just kept OBS running. I figured if I lose it, I lose it. Came back. Finally, it spawned, and I've got video of it spawning here because I felt like I should make a video out of it. There. It spawned. It got stuck in the trap. Boom. It spawns. It's stuck in the trap, and now I can jump on my fire wyvern and start hitting it with fire. I blast it with fire, and then you can see now it's at 4%. Now it's at 6% taming. Tame. I was lucky that the trap worked. I had seen it. I got it from a different video. I modified it so that my fire wyvern could stand on it. And then I hit it with fire enough times to tame the phoenix. And then the phoenix it's more of a novelty. It's like a fun thing to try out. It's not very strong. The wyverns are much better fighters. It does fly super fast, and I didn't even learn to do it until I was like halfway done. It flies super fast when you turn it into this glide mode. In fact, much faster than the wyvern. And I had my wyvern on follow, and if you get out of draw range, then it sort of like loses where you are, and you have to like go back for it. I did that, so I was doing this blasting fly fast, super fast mode, and my wyvern couldn't even keep up. But yeah, that was a fun little novelty. All right, enough ARK talk for today. I'm sure there'll be more ARK talk in the future.
I hope
in our
so.
Discord if you want more ARK stories, fun stories about the kinds of things that you get to learn to do, and some things you get to discover. I'll talk about a cave that I ran maybe next week. What else? What else did you play this week? I know not a ton, but
So I
I'm
just
sure you
played a
bit.
little bit every day of Star Wars: The Old Republic, enough so that I didn't get behind on, that little Galactic Seasons thing you get every day for making
Yes.
25k conquest points.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of my baseline. So if like
Which is
somebody
just
took a
one.
nap
You
or
only get
something,
one blueprint fragment from it.
I
But you do
know.
get a couple points progress in the season. But the blueprint fragments are our biggest problem, right? Because there's it's just for an achievement and one decoration for getting the meta achievement done.
Right. So what's going to happen for me with that is when we get close to the end, I'm just going to try and think about whether or not it's worth it to me to go out and farm some.
And you can only farm it. You can't just farm it without that buff.
Yeah, and I've already used one of them, so I don't know if there's going to be enough in the track.
Right. Or
And
you
you
can
ha-
have to like get somebody else that has one to be able to use it on.
Oh
so
yeah,
that you
that's
can go and
true.
farm.
Make a little farming party. And I think when you pull it out of the rear, I could be wrong about this, but I think it's bound to you. I think you have to like be careful who you pull it out on.
Right.
Hopefully, it'll be the character that you want to farm on.
Oh, good. That's another good point. Yeah, I feel like they didn't balance that blueprint achievement as well as they could have for this one in particular. Because there was ways to just grind mobs with nothing over and over. It was very slow, but you could definitely complete that, collect all of the reputation achievements in previous seasons.
So like if I'm like
Where
within
can't.
25 to 100, that's like 3 hours of farming. 75.
Right.
Like I farmed 1 hour and got 20 something. So I'm just saying 25 is about an hour. So if I get to within 100 and I can farm for an hour a couple times that week, maybe I'll do it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know
But
either.
like you keep saying, it's just a deco and a title. I'm
Right.
trying not to be completionist about it.
Exactly. I'm preparing myself mentally for that as well, because same thing. This one I feel like is going to be the most grindy unless they update that achievement to make it slightly less grindy. than any of the ones ever before, and I'm typically not in the mood for long grinds anymore these days.
And I mean, my habit too, when I do things for Conquest and Galactic Seasons, I tend to do stealth characters. And I think if you tend to do characters that kill all the mobs, I don't know.
Right.
Like you say, you have to have the buff on, but I only have one buff right now and I can't, like, I don't want to click on it unless I have an hour to sit here and do nothing else but kill things.
We did get 6 for doing an operation on Tuesday at Mandatory Fun Night. So that, I guess that's an option.
That's what we should do.
Spam fast operations.
Yeah, do operations. Yeah, and I should be doing that anyway to get OP ones, I guess. I don't know.
Still, I mean, you get 6 then in a half hour or whatever. It's not great when you need 1,500.
Right, but between getting them for the Galactic Seasons targets and getting the the little 5 1 a week for that thing, and then there's a certain number of them, like 120 or something of them in the track.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, that you can just collect as rewards out of the track. So we'll see. You're right. We're just going to have to see how far away we are.
Yes, see how close I come by natural means. And I expect that you'll get closer because this is where doing the 12-point objectives actually has an advantage.
Right. But I didn't do all of the 12 points last week even because it's hard to do all the 12 points sometimes. The one I skipped last week was 25 medals in GSF. Again, you don't even get, that was going to be potentially on a bad match, you might get very few medals. So I was going to have to do
I did a crafty thing though, because I haven't progressed the story from the Galactic Seasons, or I hadn't before this morning. I had picked it up, but it was to do those 3 flashpoints. And then I happened to notice that the 2 flashpoint objective Galactic Seasons this week were 2 of the ones that were on that list. So double dip, man.
Yeah. I was just pausing at this point in the video. If anybody's watching this and thinks it's weird that we have multiple characters that are doing push-ups after the battle, look, there's 2 people doing push-ups.
I do think it's weird, and I was there.
There's rest and recharge. That's basically how you get your resources back and heal up after, between fights. Those people with the street lamp, that's my favorite. Okay, you see Thon chasing after me. There's also sound effects when you do the push-ups. Well, the push-ups is a you can get like the cosmetic unlocks for a bunch of different ways to do rest and recharge.
Definitely coming after you.
So the street lamp one is the one I've used for a long time. That was just on sale in the cartel market. I like that one. It's called coin flip. You lean against the street lamp and you flip a coin. Each base class has their own flavor of rest and recharge. The push-up, though, when you do the push-up, your character grunts because you're like, I'm doing push-ups. But it makes this moaning, grunting sound. And if you're right next to another player, it's spatial sound. And especially when you got headphones in, it'll be like right in your ear. So if you saw right there after the fight when Thon's chasing me around, watch. I'll just be standing. I'm gonna go stand over here. You'll see Thon run up and start doing push-ups right next to me. That's because he's trying to make that grunting sound in my ear. So now you see me running back and forth because I know he's coming for me. He's trying to do push-ups next to my ear. So nice try. Nice try, Thon.
This is our player created content.
Exactly. All right. Yeah, but we are a day late in our podcast. So we are going to be having our ops night tonight. We'll see what we're going to do to either get some conquest or season objective completion or get back into R4 and make a little more progression on some of the things that we're working on there. I think that will be fun. And this week I will be doing GSF. Tomorrow night is Friday night. We will be flying GSF. There are 2 12-point objectives, which are GSF out of the season track for this week. I'll have to fly a bunch of matches, but be able to get them all done at once. It was just like late in the weekend, and I was going to have to fly them all in one day, and I left it till the last minute. That's why I skipped it last week. GSF is good, and especially if we're doing it with a group on Friday night, that is always fun. We've got a fun team that flies GSF. So jump in there with us on Starforge on Friday night around 8 p.m. Central. Not every Friday, but at least one Friday a month is a GSF night for us. And ad hoc some of the other Fridays if we've got an objective like this that we're all going after. That's a fun thing. So come do that with us. Otherwise, I think that wraps it up for us for this week.
Yeah, I think so.
Fun. That is it then. As always, all the feed and subscribe links for us are on newoverlords.com and our videos on YouTube/newoverlords. Please come chat with us in our Discord at newoverlords.com/Discord. You can also follow on all the social networks, and we'll keep you up to date there too. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.